Level 1, the applicant. You are 24 years old. You have a criminal justice degree from a state school in Ohio and 14 months of experience as a county sheriff's deputy. And you have applied to the FBI twice and been rejected twice. And you are sitting in a Panera Bread in Columbus, filling out the online application for the third time on a Tuesday afternoon. The application is 35 pages long. It asks about every employer you have had since the age of 18, every address, every drug use, every foreign contact, every financial debt, every person who knows you well enough to say whether you are honest. The FBI receives approximately 40,000 applications per year. It hires approximately 800 new agents. You know this number. You have known it since you were 17. And your uncle, who was a field agent in Cincinnati for 23 years, told you over a plate of Christmas ham that the Bureau was the hardest organization in America to get into and the hardest to leave once you were in. He said both things with the same expression. You were not sure at 17 whether he meant it as a warning or a recommendation. You are still not sure. You submit the application. You close the laptop. You order another coffee. 8 months later, you receive a conditional offer of employment. Level 2. The new agent trainee. Quantico, Virginia. The FBI Academy. 21 weeks. You live in a dormitory on 547 acres of federal land in the Virginia woods. Your class has 50 people. Former military, former police, lawyers, accountants, a software engineer from Seattle who speaks 4 languages and cannot, at first, run a mile in under 9 minutes. By week 12, she is the fastest person in the class. The schedule is total. You are in the classroom for firearms training, legal instruction, case preparation, interviewing techniques, and forensic science. You are on the Hogan's Alley Range, a full mock town built in the woods specifically for training scenarios, running simulations where actors play criminals and hostages and bystanders, and the wrong decision fails the exercise. You run the scenario again. You run it better. In week 9, you fail a firearms qualification. You have 24 hours to retest. You do not sleep. You go to the range at 05 Unzu, and you shoot until your grip is steady and your times are right. And then you test again, and you pass, and you do not mention it to anyone. Week 16. You are investigating a simulated kidnapping case. Your team of 4 gnats has 72 hours. You work the evidence. You interview the simulated witnesses. You make a wrong assumption in hour 14 that sends your investigation in the wrong direction for 6 hours before your partner catches it. You course correct. You solve the case with 4 hours remaining. Your supervisor tells you that the wrong assumption was more instructive than anything you learned in the classroom. You write that down. Week 21. You graduate. You raise your right hand in a room in Quantico with 49 other people who have spent 5 months becoming something they were not when they arrived. You are a special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, GS-10. Your starting salary is $79,468. You receive your first field office assignment. It is not Quantico. It is not New York. It is Anchorage, Alaska. Level 3. Agent. Anchorage is not what you imagined. Neither is the work. You imagine surveillance on organized crime. You imagine terrorism cases. What you actually do for the first year is white-collar financial crime, bank fraud, wire fraud. A mortgage scheme operating across 4 Alaska Native communities has stolen $2.3 million from people who could not afford to lose it. You build the case for 7 months. You interview 41 witnesses. You write 200 pages of 302s. The FBI's witness interview reports. In a building where it gets dark at 3:30 in the afternoon in December and stays dark until 10 in the morning. You execute a search warrant on a Thursday. The subject is a 54-year-old man in a Wasilla Ranch house who made himself very comfortable on other people's money and is now standing in his kitchen in a bathrobe, looking at your badge with the specific expression of a man whose entire infrastructure is collapsing. The case goes to trial 14 months after the search warrant. You testify for 2 days. The jury deliberates for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing is 18 months later. By then, you are already working on the next case. This is the job. Cases are rivers. You are always at the bank of a new one. In year 3, you rotate to violent crimes. Kidnappings, bank robberies, a series of carjackings that turn out to be connected to a trafficking network operating out of Seattle. You spend 3 months working the trafficking case with a task force that includes agents from HSI, DEA, and Seattle PD. The case breaks on a Wednesday night. 16 arrests. 7 victims recovered. You call your mother from the parking lot of the Seattle field office at 2 a.m., and you tell her you had a good day at work. Level 4. The Task Force Agent. GS-12. 6 years in. You have applied for the Behavioral Analysis Unit 3 times. The BAU. 5 units embedded in the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group at Quantico, is where the Bureau's criminal psychologists analyze patterns, build profiles, consult on active cases, and assist field agents with the most complex violent crime investigations in the country. There are approximately 45 agents across the 5 BAU units. The minimum time in service requirement to apply is 10 years. They waived that to 7 for you, based on your violent crimes caseload. You have been rejected twice. The rejection letters say the same thing in different words. Your application is strong. You are not yet ready. You do not argue with this. The agents currently in the BAU have seen things that require a specific kind of scaffolding to be able to look at without losing the ability to function. That scaffolding takes years to build. You are building it. In the meantime, you are on a joint task force in Anchorage working counterterrorism alongside Homeland Security and the Alaska State Police. A domestic extremist group operating out of the Mat-Su Valley has been planning something for 18 months. You have been in their communications for 6. You know their names. You know their schedules. You know one of them has a daughter who does not know what her father has been building in the garage. The operation goes on a Sunday morning. Nobody is hurt. The daughter is at her grandmother's house, 40 miles away. You sit in the debrief room afterward and listen to the supervisory special agent go through the timeline, and you think about the daughter at her grandmother's house, and you wonder what she will understand about this day when she is old enough to understand it. You write a request for assignment to the CRG Violence Reduction Unit. You want to be closer to the work that leads to the BAU. Your supervisor approves it. You fly to Quantico. You leave Anchorage on a Tuesday. The mountain is out. That is what they say in Alaska when Denali is visible from the city, which is rare. The mountain is out. You look at it from the cab to the airport, and it is so large and so white and so permanent that it is almost embarrassing. You do not look away until you have to. Level 5, the Puffler, GS-13, Year 11. You are assigned to BU-4, Crimes Against Adults. There are 11 agents in your unit. They are the strangest collection of people you have ever worked alongside. Quiet, methodical, deeply funny, in a dark, specific way of people who have spent years looking at the worst things human beings do to each other and needed to find a way to keep going. The humor is armor. You recognize this from your first week. By the 3rd month, you understand that the humor is also genuine. These are people who have made their peace with the weight. They carry it. They are not crushed by it. Your first BAU case, a serial case in the Pacific Northwest. 3 victims, no DNA, no witnesses. A geographic cluster that suggests mobility. You study the case files for 6 days. You read every 302, every forensic report, every evidence photograph. On the 7th day, you build a profile. Age range, likely occupation, probable relationship to victim selection, geographic comfort zone, and the specific behavioral signatures that differentiate this perpetrator from 40 others the field office has superficially considered. The field office in Portland uses the profile. They eliminate 38 of those 40 candidates. On the second suspect interview, the Portland agent recognizes 3 specific behavioral markers you named. He makes the arrest 6 weeks later. You never meet the Portland agent in person. You never meet the case. You are already on the next one. This is the work. You are never in the room. You are the thing that tells the people in the room what to look for. You see the shape of what happened from the outside, and your job is to translate that shape into language that the people inside can use. Year 13. You begin teaching at Quantico. Nats in week 11. BAU Fundamentals. You have 50 students. One of them asks how you stop the cases from following you home. You tell her the honest answer. You do not stop them. You learn to live in the same house as them. There is a difference. She writes it down. You recognize the expression. It is the expression of someone at the beginning of a very long education. Level 6. The Supervisory Special Agent, SSA, Supervisory Special Agent, GS-14. You manage a team of 9 agents in the Critical Incident Response Group at Quantico. You are 43 years old. You have been in the Bureau for 19 years. You have consulted on 340 cases in 12 states. You have testified as an expert witness in federal court 22 times. You have been to crime scenes in 7 countries at the invitation of their domestic law enforcement agencies, because the FBI's expertise in behavioral analysis is considered, in certain circles in certain countries, something worth a 14-hour flight to access. The management piece is the piece nobody tells you about. Your 9 agents are among the best investigators in the country. They are also human beings with personal lives that the job does not care about. One of them lost a child last year. He came back to work after 6 weeks because sitting at home was worse than working. You watch him every day the way you watch a load-bearing wall. The moment the load becomes too much, you need to be the one who catches it. Another one of your agents submitted a transfer request last month. She has been in the BAU for 7 years. She needs something different. She is not burned out. She is saturated. There is a difference, but both require the same intervention. You let her go. The team absorbs the loss. She lands somewhere else and does excellent work and emails you 3 months later to say she is sleeping again. The email makes you sit in your office for a long time. You go home that night at 8:47 p.m. Your husband has left a plate in the oven. He does not ask what time you are coming home anymore. He left that conversation somewhere in the middle of year 8. Now there is the plate in the oven, and the light left on in the hall, and the specific grace of someone who has built a life around an absence and decided that the person who comes home is worth building. You are not sure you would have made the same decision in his position. This is a thought you have approximately twice a week and do not finish. Level 7. The Action Chef, Section Chief, GS-15. You are 51 years old. You oversee 3 BAU units and a research division, 47 agents, a budget, a relationship with the director's office that requires a level of institutional fluency you spent 15 years developing without knowing you were developing it. Policy decisions, resource allocation, congressional testimony twice in the past 4 years about the Bureau's behavioral science programs. The day-to-day of the cases is now one remove. Your unit supervisors handle the daily operational decisions. You handle the cases that require escalation, which means the cases that are beyond the parameters of what a supervisor can resolve alone. These cases are rare. When they arrive completely. One arrives on a March Tuesday. A field office in 4 states is working on what they have been calling 4 separate cases. You look at the files at 10 p.m. in your office after everyone else has gone home. By 11:30, you know they are one case. The signature is in the staging, a specific behavioral detail that appears in each scene with the particularity of a fingerprint. You call the section chief of the Violent Crime Division at 11:47 p.m. He answers on the second ring. You explain what you see. He is quiet for 12 seconds. Then he says, "Get me a briefing by 0800." You get him the briefing by 0600. The investigation that follows lasts 8 months. It ends in a federal building in Phoenix on a Wednesday morning. You are not in Phoenix. You are in Quantico, in your office, on a phone call with the Phoenix SAC, when he tells you it is over. You sit with the phone in your hand for a moment after he hangs up. Outside your window, the Virginia woods are doing what the Virginia woods do, existing indifferently, greenly, without any relationship to anything that just happened in a federal building in Phoenix. You go get coffee. You start the next file. Level 8. The Assistant Director. Assistant Director of the Critical Incident Response Group. You are responsible for the FBI's crisis response infrastructure, the BAU, the HRT, the Crisis Negotiation Unit, and the Crisis Management Unit. 4 disciplines, several hundred people. The operational capability that the Bureau deploys when things are bad enough to require it. The HRT, The Hostage Rescue Team, the Bureau's only full-time counterterrorism tactical unit, 100 operators. The federal government's primary response to the worst possible scenarios. Reports. Through your chain of command. They can deploy anywhere in the United States within 4 hours. You have authorized that deployment 23 times in the past 6 years. Each authorization is a decision made with incomplete information in compressed time, with irreversible consequences if it is wrong. You are 58 years old. You have been in the FBI for 34 years. An operator from the HRT came to see you last month. He is 38. He has been with HRT for 9 years. He sits across from you in your office and says he is thinking about leaving. He has a daughter who is 10. He has missed more of her childhood than he has witnessed. His wife is patient in the way of someone who has run out of patience and decided to call the remaining reserve by a different name. You listen. You tell him what you know to be true. You tell him some people find the line. You tell him you found it late and you are not sure it was the right time to find it. You tell him the decision is his and you will support it. He leaves. You sit in the quiet of your office for a long time. On your wall, there is a photo from 1999, a crime scene in Atlanta. You are 31 years old. You are crouched over evidence. Your expression is the expression of someone looking at something that will not leave them. The case is still with you. So is every other one. You would do it again. This is the thing that never changes. Level 9. The Director. Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. There is a 10-year term limit. Congress said it after J. Edgar Hoover died in office after 48 years. You are in year 6. You brief the president weekly. You testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee quarterly. You manage 38,000 employees across 56 field offices, 350 resident agencies, and 60 international offices. You are responsible for counterterrorism, counterintelligence, cybercrime, public corruption, civil rights enforcement, transnational organized crime, and the behavioral science programs that have consulted on more criminal cases than any comparable unit in the world. The job is not an investigation anymore. It is an institution. You are the person who maintains the apparatus that lets 38,000 people do the work you spent 34 years doing. When something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, your name is in the headline. You sit in front of the Senate committee, and you explain with precision and without excuse. The Bureau does not make excuses. You have believed this since week 16 at Quantico when you failed the firearms qualification and did not tell anyone. What you know, sitting across from senators who have never been in a building at 10 p.m., reading 4 separate case files and realizing they are one, is what this work actually takes. Not resources, not technology, not policy, people. People who went to Panera Bread and filled out 35-page applications for the 3rd time. People who failed a firearms test at 0500 and did not quit. People who built profiles in quiet offices and never met the case that used them. People who authorized a deployment with incomplete information at 2 a.m. The institution is those people. You are responsible for every one of them. You sit in your office the morning after a difficult Senate hearing. The building is quiet. Washington is beginning its day outside the window. Pennsylvania Avenue. The Capitol Dome, the city that contains everything and answers to nothing. You think about a 24-year-old sitting into Panera Bread in Columbus, with a laptop and an application and a number she knows. 40,000 applied, 800 get in, and she submits it anyway. She has no idea what she is submitting an application for. She thinks she knows. She has a picture in her head from a television show. The picture is not wrong about everything. It is wrong about most things. She will find out. They always find out. The cycle continues.